And I remember telling myself, tonight I'm going to go out and I'm not going to talk. I'm gonna be
I
mysterious.
used to do that too,
Yeah.
and I would literally it would be take everything in my body to not, and then I still would, of course.
Of course,
because
you would last like
you
6
can't-
minutes.
Yeah, you can't stop being yourself. And look at you now. You're talking professionally.
How are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm good. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I love the film. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. That means the world. It's crazy that people saw it.
And you were in Montreal filming this
Yeah,
for
2 months.
And what did you think?
Incredible.
Yeah.
It was so fun. I used to go to Montreal for like a couple of days. I used to be kind of like an ecom commercial model. So I would just like go to like, random places. Montreal was my favorite because it was the funnest.
What is an ecom commercial model?
Like, when you're like shopping online
Yeah.
and you're like buying pants, like someone's wearing the pants that you bought.
Yeah.
I'm the person wearing the pants.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
I've often wondered who those people are.
They're ecom models. It's funny because it's like not very glamorous, but it kind of sounds glamorous. Like, oh, I'm a model. I'm in Montreal modeling, but it's like I'm modeling like a nude like tank top for moms.
I can tell you a story about that. My mom, who's the best, she would she'd be in her mind to get me a coat for Christmas, right? And she'd go to the store and I would get pictures of the person in the shop wearing the coat. Or she would find people around my size and get them to wear the coat so I'd see what it would look like.
She was casting on the streets.
She should have turned that into a job.
She could have. Hey, kid, you want to make it big?
Be in this photo for my son.
Yeah, you want to do ecom for things like Target.
And I heard that you had to learn how to do a Canadian accent.
Yeah, and I also learned that Canadians think they don't have an accent.
Well, I'm from a part of Canada that really has an accent. Like I'm from Newfoundland on the far east coast of Canada, so we have like a weird accent.
Yeah.
But Canadians in like Ontario definitely, they think that they're the default.
They really don't hear their like outs and abouts. I mean, the great thing about it was that I was playing like a fictionalized version of Chandler, so I had like someone to really base my accent off of, and hers is very thick too.
Do you remember any of it? Can you do any of it?
I mean, it's very subtle. It's just talking at the end of the mouth. It's just like it's really I'm out of practice. But I did like a really comically long time with my dialect coach to learn like how to do a Canadian accent.
Really?
I'm a perfectionist in everything I do.
Is it a lot of that like out and
about? Like it's just also like just the way that you talk is just at the end of the mouth. Like it's just like I talk like here, like because I live in LA.
Right.
I go here.
right. And I have the weird hard R's. Like I do car,
car,
and all that kind of stuff because
I'm from New York, so even I've been in LA for like 7 years, so I've kind of have a Southern California moment and also a New York accent. It's a little bit of a weird hodgepodge.
Chandler had a hard time getting anyone to read the script for the longest time, and you came on full-hearted, and you're you're this big star, and you came on full-hearted about it. Tell me about that. When you read the script, tell me what you thought.
Yeah, so I actually worked on this movie called Face to Death, and the director Danny was like, I think there's something that would be really interesting for you, and so we had wrapped that, and it's been like a while, and he sent me the script and sent me like the deck, and the deck was wonderful. The script was so great. And so I just kind of was like, yeah. I've been really focusing on doing independent movies. I think those are really where I find the most joy. And so whenever I find a script that I really like and it's a newer director, I always am really excited about it because it's like feels like there's gonna be a fresh take.
What did you like about it?
I just love that it was like messy and Grace was like so unlikable at times, and and every part of the script was just like I just related to her. I mean, I'm always self-sabotaging myself, putting myself in situations, as we all do in our 20s, that can be hard for ourselves. We can be selfish, and but then we can also be taken advantage of all at the same time. And there's no like perfect victim, really. Like we all kind of. There's no good or bad. It's really like all kind of gray area, which I really related to.
I think that's some of my favorite things about Chandler's films are about that.
Yeah.
Like, and I like movies like this. I don't know if you ever saw that movie, but it could have that dude who's also in this movie.
Isaiah
could have been a annoying film critic guy, or could have been a soft-hearted loser, but instead you're in kind of both. And in this film, you're right. Like you could have either, I did hate your character at sometimes, and then there were times I was rooting for you. But that's kind of how life really is.
Well, yeah. If the movie was like Grace is like the perfect woman who makes the perfect decisions, and then all these bad things happen to her, I feel like that's that's a story, sure, but it doesn't feel like authentic to how I experienced my 20s. I'm in my late 20s, so it's still there, still happening. But it just felt like it was good. It makes the audience wonder and kind of you know, wrestle with like, with this character is just always doing something wrong.
Chandler's own story in some ways.
Yeah, I think it's a fictionalized version of it,
Yeah.
but in a lot of ways, yes.
She was a music writer in Toronto, wrote for Spin and Toronto Life, I think, and a couple, and now, and then you know, gets all these opportunities and finds herself in this sort of boys' club around these things.
Yeah.
And what conversation did you have with Chandler to play this role?
So we met in LA, where she was in town, and I love to read a script and really just like talk about what I find interesting about it, and like the human condition in big terms, because I feel like that's what scripts, especially if they're written from personal experience, which I've been doing, you know. So I kind of have I did a movie called Bob Trina Likes that's also based off of very personal experience. So it was my second time working with a director who's telling her life story, and I was playing a version of her. So I, you know, I wanted to just get to know her and get to know what her goals were with this. And for me, like, I felt so clearly, like, when I read something, I'm so visual. And the deck was so incredible. Like, shout out to she made a pitch deck that was just like, had music and moving image. And it was just like, you could just tell the vibe of the movie. And I also used to be an American Apparel model. So that was really interesting, because I was in that era of, well, a little bit later, but I was in that era of like the quote indie sleaze, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I was reading about that. So for people who haven't seen it, the movie is in 2011. Chandler is wearing a lot of like 2011 American Apparel clothing.
Yeah.
And the person who was in charge of wardrobe, I think, used to like manage.
Courtney, yeah.
Used to manage an American Apparel. And you were an American Apparel model.
I worked at the store.
Come on.
Was all in high school. Yeah.
Some of the parts of I've heard Chandler talk about how some parts of the movie were a little traumatic for her to film, because they were real things that she's gone through. What was it like, or can you tell me a story of having to act out those moments in front of her?
Yeah, so I think, you know, it's so hard when you're working with something that is so personal with someone, and, you know, you want to take a lot of grace and be as you also want to make it truthful and right, and make sure that their vision is really being it's being fulfilled. So for me, I just wanted to make sure that, you know, our conversations were always happening, and especially like there was a few scenes that were like a little more intimate, or, you know, things where Grace, you could really tell, is feeling small. And
there she is, the person filming this. She's gone. She was the one who went through it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you really want to be careful, because you don't. And, you know, I've been taking on this responsibility of like holding people's biggest traumas in their film and really like trying to portray it with honesty. And thankfully, it's all been working out correctly, thank God, because it is an extra responsibility where you really just want to make sure that person's proud of it, and, you know, really feels like it connects with the reality of what happened.
Are you like checking in? Are you like saying, is that how it went?
Yeah, I think it was a check-in for both of us, because it was like incredibly intimate things that we were doing, and even the less intimate scenes, I think, were like a bit triggering too. And so it was just having like, you know, and it was also like mostly, you know, just us like talking. I mean, that sounds so boring, but it's just, that's usually my relationship with directors is just like long conversations and making sure that we're on the same page and that we're getting it done correctly, and making sure that like the audience is really going to feel it.
So as I mentioned, you play Grace, music journalist, goes to Montreal. She's writing a book about Alanis Morissette.
Yes.
Are you an Alanis fan? Do you like Jagged Little Pill?
I love Alanis, but I was never a huge Alanis fan. But what I really connected with it was that I have women that I've looked up to. Like, my favorite pop star, I guess you could call it, was like Lana Del Rey, right? Yeah. Who came out in 2012. And for me, I remember telling Chandler, I was like, I just relate to having this like kind of icon when you're young, and they're so fiercely different than everyone, and how inspiring that can be, and how that can really change your life, and how that can really color in all your steps and moving to new places, and, you know, what you do when you have someone that you look up to so much.
You saw Lana and you felt that way, like when you heard Lana for the first time.
Oh yeah.
What did that unlock in you?
Gosh, I don't know. It's just, you know, her music is just so nostalgic, and in a weird way, it's very Americana in like a fantasy world, like the fantasy of being in the American country. And I'm a child of immigrants. Never felt like I was very particularly in the quote American dream, and I feel like she was always kind of turning the American dream on its head and talking about the fantasy of what America is but never will be, you know. So to me, that was really what was so connected. And also, you know, the lost love, and me at like 14, 16, like just, you know, relating to these deep themes, but I guess it just spoke to me.
I mean, that was kind of Chandler, and it's kind of so many
Of
people
course.
for Alanis, right?
Yeah.
They heard it. I mean, Chandler tells that story about being in the car with her mom and hearing Alanis, and she was like 12 years old, and she heard "You Ought to Know" and "Fucking It," and she was like, she had to pretend she was horrified, but
Yeah.
really she was like, really heartened by it, even though she really hadn't experienced any of that yet.
Yeah, thankfully my mom never really looked into what Lana was writing about, which is like, at the time maybe, romances that are not exactly age appropriate and whatnot. But it was just, the feeling of it was really meant something to me. It's also very cinematic, and I was always into film, so it just felt like.
Your character, who's based on Chandler, so Alanis is someone who faced a lot of misogyny and ridicule in her career.
Yes.
Your character is based on Chandler, who is also receiving a lot of ridicule and misogyny in her career as a journalist. And in the movie, your character is asked why she wants to write a book about Alanis Morissette. And she says, "Society hates it when people talk about themselves. Anytime I've been honest about my own experiences, people say, 'Shut the fuck up.'"
Yes.
It's a powerful line. Alanis released Jagged Little Pill in 95. Chandler set the movie when she experienced this in 2011. You've been in the public eye since you were a teenager, first as a model and then as an actor. How did that line, "Society hates it when people talk about themselves. Anytime I've been honest about my own experiences, people say, 'Shut the fuck up.'" How did that strike you in 2025?
I mean, it does. I'm 28 now. I've been doing interviews about myself since I was 16 in different ways before I was even an actor. And I felt like, when I show my true personality, it always came back to bite me. And really what my journey with being somewhat of a public figure throughout my life in that way is really just being okay with that. People are going to find me annoying. They're going to find me too much. They're going to find me all these things. And growing up, that was a big thing for me. I felt like I was just too much. Whatever I did was a lot. Like I was always so loud. I was always making so many jokes. It was never landing. It was just, I felt like I was annoying people by existing. And I think I really found my confidence through this journey of being a model and actress and being someone who's like kind of public facing. It felt like I get a lot of hate. I get, all sorts of things, of course. I mean, we all do. And I'm a woman who's an actress, and, they're going to comment on my talent, my looks, my personality, everything. So, I totally get it. It's like people will literally tell you to shut up. They'd rather you be small and not say much and be quiet and mysterious and alluring and not at the same time be perfect and sexy, but also humble and all modest, all sorts of things.
So if you're growing up and feeling like you're too much for everybody, like I'm too loud, I make too many jokes and all this stuff, like the story around you is that you were kind of home in your bedroom and you were sick and you had the flu.
Yeah.
And you took pictures of yourself in your bedroom because you saw that American Apparel was looking for models.
Yeah.
If you're feeling like you can't be your true self, if you feel like what would make you want to do that?
I've always wanted to be an actor. I always felt like if I was on stage or on camera, I could be that version of myself and people like it. And it's true. I mean, it definitely works better now than as a teenager in high school, being this kind of effervescent, maybe like a bit too, I have like obviously, as we all do, like bad ADHD where I'm just like always talking and yada yada. So it's like, it feels like I always felt like it was congratulated when I was doing theater as a kid. Or if I was doing acting classes, it felt like it was a superpower. And then when I was at school, it felt like all I wanted was to just make myself smaller and less. Like I remember I would like wish on like 11, like I wish I was a quiet, mysterious person. I'm like 12, you know what I mean? I'm like, I wish I just didn't have this, the way that I am, and I'm 28 and I'm still like kind of, some days I'm like, why did I do that? Why am I talking so much?
Man, I'm 38 and I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about. Like I remember, like I've talked this much since I was a kid, and especially if I ever felt awkward, if I felt uncomfortable, I would just talk more and joke around all the
Same.
time. But like I remember meeting people and they were mysterious and cool, and I remember being like, all I want to do is just be like that. And I remember telling myself, tonight I'm going to go out and I'm not going to talk. I'm going to be mysterious.
I used to do that too, and
Yeah.
I would literally like it would be take everything in my body to not, and then I still would, of course.
Of course,
because
you would last like
you
6
can't-
minutes.
Yeah, you can't stop being yourself. And look at you now. You're talking professionally.
I think but even then I hated myself even when I did that. But I think you just kind of try to learn to love yourself over time.
Yeah, you gotta be like, this is who I am.
Yeah, and that's good, and I'm good. But I don't understand can you tell me the story of trying to like taking the pictures and wanting to be a model?
Yeah, so I never really wanted to be a model. I wanted to be an actor since I was a kid. I used to like watch, oh my gosh, so many things. I used to watch like House and be like, do I want to be a doctor or do I want to be an actor? And I'm like, I want to be an actor. And like SVU, like as a kid, really young. So but I actually wanted to be on like a procedural like officer like show. I think that was like my dream as a kid.
Yeah.
Was to play like a doctor or a detective on TV.
Yeah.
And so I did that just because I was just I always have a confidence in myself. The thing about me is that I got all this myself. Like I emailed agents when I was like 11 years old behind my mom's back. Like they don't even know what that is. Like I've always been very confident in my abilities and potential of being a performer. And I think as I grow more into that, I get more confident, which is cool.
So the plan was what? Like, I'm going to put this in.
I'm going to start modeling, and then that can help me be an actor.
Oh, I want to start modeling so I can be an actor.
Yeah, I was doing like a lot of acting classes at the time. I was doing like I lived in Jersey, and I would take like the bus to the city, and I'd have to walk through Times Square to go there to like go to my my classes, and I've always been really ambitious and stubbornly so in that way. So I just thought, well, I'm going to send him, even though I'm not a person who I would ever think of. At the time, I never thought of myself as a model. I was kind of like, oh, these people kind of like have models that don't really look like everyone else. So maybe there's a chance.
When you got the gig, what was the expectation and what was the reality of it?
The expectation was like, wow, I'm going to be a model. And the reality was I got paid like $9 an hour, and then I got a job at the mall. And then there were like pictures that I would take, and they would pay me like $20 for it. So, I mean, it was cool at the time. I was in high school, so it was fine. But
that's so surprising to me, because when I was reading about it, like it seemed like you were a really successful model right away. And you were
when I was 18, when I started doing the fabulous ecom life, I started, making a living. But American Prop was living at home. I literally was getting paid like in the mall, like as a sales associate, and then they would like take pictures of me and like use it in billboards. They would pay me like, they'd pay me like $20 an hour for a 2-hour shoot sometimes. And that's like, it is an invoice. So, but I thought that was cool. I mean, it was a high school gig, so I was the coolest person at the Garden State Plaza.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
I mean, I bet that was another thing I read.
Yeah, the Garden State Plaza.
I found that you were the coolest. I saw your trophy.
It was my trophy. I won it. Yeah, I don't know if I still am, but at the time, yes.
So when modeling gets really big, how big did it get? Were you like, okay, well, this is something I could potentially do forever?
It just never felt like I was a curve model, and I felt like I had to do a lot of things.
You were what?
Like a curve model, like a plus size model.
Okay.
So I felt like there was a lot of things that it was just like an uphill battle at the time. Like I felt like no one really was doing it the way that I would want to do it, which is like I've always been really interested in like editorial. And the reason I started modeling was because I had friends who were artists who would take pictures of me, and like we would do these really cool like editorials for like ID Magazine, Purple Magazine, Wonderland when I was like 16, and we would do these really cool shoots that were very artistic, and sometimes it would be like at Art Basel or it'd be in a museum, like in a blanket form. Like they'd put my face like crying on a blanket, and like it would be like at the Tate Modern. Like it was so random. I was doing a lot of art stuff, so I was like, and I was posing for artists. And I had like a lot of friends in the art world. So yeah, it just kind of all started from there. And then the whole time I just wanted to be an actor. I mean, it felt like it wasn't very fulfilling. And I had like a Vice show at one point. I had like so many like little like YouTube shows with like Teen Vogue. And, everyone also always hired me because of the videos they could take of me, because I was good on camera,
right,
like talking, and I was silly, I was funny, I also didn't care.
You ended up on the Time list of most influential teens.
I did.
But at the height of it, you decided to step away from it and pursue acting.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call it the height. I feel like everything was kind of I had like regular clients, I was making good money, but I just felt like creatively unfulfilled. For me, I'm silly. I don't want to, I was also like, there was just a part of me that was really like, I hated being seen as just like this, advertisement for clothes. And obviously that was my job, and I'm not like complaining about it, but I was like, I really wanted to move on from it. I really wanted to start acting. And so I was like auditioning, and I did like a couple like small roles in here and there, and then Euphoria came by, and thankfully that worked out for me.
But I was reading that, I read you at the time call it a risk, that it was a risk.
It was a risk. I took a huge pay cut. I like had all these regular clients. Like I was making really good money for a 21. You're like crazy good money for a 21. And I come from like a really poor family.
I was gonna say, you don't come from any money.
No, like literally first generation, like American. My grandma cleans houses. My mom like went to school when I was a kid. My mom had me at 21. So I've come from a very, very poor family. So I took a huge risk in being like, okay, I'm gonna go film this pilot.
This is for Euphoria?
Yeah, and I'm gonna like I'm going to cut my hair and like do all these things and I'm going to not be a model anymore. Like I was a very concerted effort. Like I just also felt like it was just, I just feel like I was barking up the wrong tree modeling.
Yeah, and you figured that out early, and good on you. You were able to sort of make that call.
And thankfully, I got to book an acting job and be an actor because I don't know. I always I was hoping that would be the case, obviously, but you never know.
Well, the other side of a risk is
you fail.
You could have, you could end up back. Honest to God, you could have not.
Of course, and I've always taken a lot of risks. I'm a very I take a lot of risks. I make a lot of big choices in my life, and they all have paid off. Thank God.
Well, I'm gonna get to some of these big risks as we go on. So, Euphoria, one of the first things you land.
Yeah. I think second or third credit I've ever had. Yeah.
Show. Did you get to go on SVU or anything like that before that? Did you
no,
get to do your,
I didn't get to fulfill my dreams.
It's not too late.
It's not too late.
The show, there's a Law and Order Toronto. You could do that.
I like that.
I know, and you got the accent for it.
Hell yeah.
The show became a phenomenon, really unlike anything on TV at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Really gritty, raw depiction of high school life.
Mm-hmm.
When you first read the script, other than I think I want to be an actor, so I'll do anything. What were your thoughts when you got it?
Oh, it was completely different. I remember also getting a lot of
different from what?
Just all the things I was getting sent. I was not a working actor, so the things that when you're starting off, the things you get sent are waitress number 3 and it's a hyper specific kind of offensive description of who this person is, so
even you, but you were the Time magazine model of the I figured they would be giving you the
no I was going out for tiny little guest spots, auditioning, being so nervous. So yeah, no, when I read the Euphoria, I don't know if they sent me some sides first, some scenes, and what I remember just reading being this sounds like me. It sounds like someone wrote my words into a script, which is funny because I've been reading so many things that just felt like it was felt like a room of just old white guys writing a teenager, because I was young at the time, so I was obviously going for a lot of teenagers, and this felt like it was a little bit more realistic in the way that it was written, and I just felt oh God, I've never seen anything like this, and having these kind of characters, I also never saw anything like that either at the time.
There's nothing more powerful than a fat girl who doesn't give a fuck. You should see me in the crowd. I'm gonna run, there's nothing to out. Watch me make 'em bow.
Also at the time, it was a huge casting call for every single person in New York. In the subway, there was A24 HBO project. If you're a trans girl in between these ages, or if you're a plus size girl in between these ages, contact this. So every single person I know who is a plus size model auditioned for the role. So as it continued, it felt farther and farther away from me.
Tell me about the audition.
I think I auditioned 10 or 11 times, something crazy.
Really?
I auditioned the most. They were very on the fence about me. I think because I was a model, and the character is obviously someone who's not confident.
Yeah, for people who haven't seen it, Kat, your character is
she goes through a transformation.
Yeah, starting out as this sort of fan fiction nerdy person, and then becomes this.
She's got the fuck ass bob. She got the glasses on, classic. She takes the glasses off. No longer nerdy.
Right.
So I had to really prove to them that I could do that. I'm I can 100% do that, and so I think it just took a long time, just a lot of times of me auditioning, and it was also really a one of a kind experience because it was a lot of people who weren't actors, so we were all just kind of auditioning with each other, not knowing what we're doing. I knew a little bit, and of course some other people knew a little bit too, but it was just a completely unique experience.
Getting it could not have been more intense. When you actually get the job and the film starts, the TV show starts coming out.
Yeah.
It got so big.
It did.
And it got big in a way that it wasn't just a lot of people were watching it. It became people were discussing it.
Yes,
I was
a lot of that.
I was watching you have to do interviews back then where people were challenging you on should the show exist or should they be showing
all the time,
these things?
And I'm 22, in a little poodle dress, yeah, it should.
Tell me a good thing and a bad thing about having that sort of skyrocketing attention on the show.
I think the good thing is I finally felt seen for my talent rather than my looks, which is something that I was always battling as a model because it felt like my entire value was just in the way that I looked. I booked a lot of clients because they liked me because of my personality, honestly, and I probably wouldn't have gotten very far if I didn't make people laugh and really kind of made friends with these people and they kept booking me more.
Sure,
you know?
but the gig itself is still,
But it felt like, I was just being seen as a mannequin of sorts. And it felt like it just felt really good for people to see me in a skill that I've been honing since I was a kid in whatever way possible that I could with my resources. And it just felt really good that was like my favorite. The bad thing is that I couldn't go to Korean spas anymore. I think that still is my worst thing about, because I love being naked with other people. And I remember shooting season 1. I think I was literally going to the Korean spa like 4 times a week because I had just moved to LA and like discovered it. And I think like now that I can't be naked with other people like peacefully, I think that's like probably the worst part.
Because you're famous and people will be.
I just don't want. I even if no one knows who I'm, it's not even about them. It's about me. Like I feel like paranoid that like is someone gonna take a picture of me? Is like me naked? Which people hopefully would never do that. But it's not even about other people. It's more about me. It doesn't feel as free.
You lost a little bit of anonymity. You lose
I
a little
did.
bit of.
Yeah.
You lose a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Let's go to risk number 2 here. Was when you left the show.
Yeah.
That was also a big risk.
Huge risk. I mean, it wasn't it wasn't completely my idea. It was definitely like something that we came to together as like the only way we can move forward is really if I'm not in it. I don't think there's anywhere for me to go other than, be like a background character. And that's not, and like, listen, that's fine. But for me, I've already risked everything for so much more. Like, what I mean? I'm like, what I really want to do is just be making projects that see me as something that's not a background character.
Fair enough. And God knows there has been enough written about the speculation around you leaving, and it became like news, and it became I was reading, and this is all kind of new to me, so I was like really getting into it. Like I was reading like Reddit threads about it. I was reading like all this stuff about people speculating why you had left the show. It seems to me like it was less interesting than anything else. Just like
it's extremely uninteresting. I think when you're on a show like that's 9 months long, so you can't go out of town, you can't do anything. So I felt like it just felt like I couldn't explore other things. Sure, I probably would be in a less famous thing that wasn't really my priority, or I wouldn't be on the magazine covers all the time. But I really just want to be an actor,
For sure. And I want to come to like the decisions you made afterwards. What I'm curious about is that what you did with all that attention, because you're getting a lot of. I can't imagine what it's like to be you, man. To be honest, like I can't imagine what it's like to be on the show like that and just get a lot of scrutiny like that. Mm-hmm. And I know what it's like to get some of it. Like there was like a Reddit thread the other day that said I should get fired. You know what I mean? Like
oh my God.
I should get fired.
Me every day, literally something like that is like. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the other day I was like, I should get fired because I suck. You know what I mean? Like, and you were getting a lot of it. And I read you said this thing that. I decided the internet's not for fun anymore.
It's not for fun. It's for business.
Can you talk to me about how you use the internet after getting all this negative attention and all this sort of speculation?
Even the good attention is bad too. So, I mean, I'm not perfect at all, but what I try to do is just I try not to go places and read things and as much as possible. And I'm so imperfect with it, especially when I'm producing projects.
Give me the dream. Give me the plan.
The dream
what you would
is I have this thing called a brick that was actually an Instagram ad for me because my screen time this summer has been insane. Basically I block Instagram, TikTok. I'll even block Letterboxd sometimes because I love to like go through the movies that I'm in, and just because I'm producing them, I want to know what people are saying, and like especially like Mile and Kicks where like we're waiting to get bought and all this stuff. So it's a weird thing. If I'm only an actor in something, I can really like separate myself from the reviews and all of that, but it feels like when I'm a little bit more involved in like the project itself, like producing wise, I kind of have to read some of these things. So I try that. My dream would be to not go on the internet at all, and if I do, it's just to like see really cute dogs like in Turkey, which that's what I do.
Yeah, but your brain feels so much better when you're not on it.
And yeah, even if you are just watching really cute videos, it's like all of a sudden it's like 3 hours later, and I'm like, oh my God, the brain rot has to stop.
I got to wrap in a second, but I wanted to ask you sort of a bigger question at the end, because I'm just kind of curious after all these sort of risks you took, like the risk you took to submit pictures of yourself when you were 16 to want to be, and the risk you took to be a model, the risk you took to stop only being a model when that became lucrative, when you didn't come from any money and there wasn't a lot to fall back on, the risk you took to be in Euphoria, and to quit Euphoria or to leave Euphoria, the risk you took afterwards when you probably could have been like a Marvel something, like to take on smaller pieces like this beautiful movie, Mile and Kicks. Where does that come from? Does that come from your family? Does that come from your mom? Does that come from?
Oh gosh, no. I love my mom, but she's from a small town in Brazil. She's like, why aren't you just doing anything that is thrown at you? And I have to explain to her, I'm like, I have a plan. I don't know. I am weirdly confident in myself, and always have been in this one specific way where it's like, I know what I want to do, and I want to be. I wish that like money and power were like my main driving forces, but it really is art, which I think is a losing game for most people. And I just want to feel creatively fulfilled. So everything that makes me feel creatively fulfilled, I kind of just flock to it. And it doesn't make me feel great to be part of something that I don't believe in, And so these movies have been, and also what's great about it is I get to like really learn how to be a filmmaker through producing these projects and being the main star, where like I'm literally in every single beat of this film and in the other ones. So it's just, for me, it's like a learning. I'm putting in the steps, and I did a play on Broadway last year where I was like, I was like put through like what I call like the master's class of like, being a theater actor. I had never done professional theater before. I'm just really interested in learning and being as good as possible. It really is my biggest interest. And so if something isn't aligning with that, even if it's like feels sexy and glamorous, I just don't feel good about it.
Mile and Kicks is a coming of age film, and coming of age can be really messy. Grace makes mistakes. She lets her friends down. She chooses the wrong guy. She also learns and grows. And as a result of all the mistakes that she made, she has control over her own life. She's not taking as much shit. She's prioritizing friends and a healthier life. Is there a lesson you're going to take from playing Grace into your own life?
Yeah. I think playing Grace really kind of just showcased how selfish someone can be without even knowing, because they're wrapped up in their own stuff, and all humans do this, but I totally feel that when you have your own problems, and especially when you're young, you're like, you are so wrapped up in your own self that you are almost physically unable to be respectful to other people. And I think that to me was like really something that I just like, Grace was it was like so interesting. It was like, she means well, but she's doing wrong, and when she is doing right, she does mean well too. But it makes it really feel like we earned it at the end, because you kind of realize that this girl is just like us, we all can be really selfish sometimes, and then realize that that's not going to get us anywhere.
And it doesn't mean you can't turn it around.
Yeah.
You can't. Well, it's lovely to meet you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much.